men ought always to pray and not to faint. These words from Jesus are not a suggestion, they are a command, a divine mandate. In a world where darkness prowls, waiting for a moment of weakness, men and women alike must be vigilant, constantly in prayer. The truth is simple. If you are a human, a man or a woman, it is not a question of whether you should pray. It is a necessity, a command from the Most High God. Unless you are not truly living, unless you are already surrendered to the enemy, prayer is not an option. It is your only means of survival in this raging war. You see, there is a world beyond what we see, a world of spirits, a world where battles are fought and destinies are decided. Many of the challenges, losses, and sufferings people experience in the physical world are a result of what has already happened in the spiritual realm. The Apostle Paul revealed this truth to us when he said, Ephesians 6:12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Imagine being in the middle of a battlefield, surrounded by enemies, while being completely unaware. This is the condition of a prayerless man or woman. You are being attacked, influenced, and manipulated without even realizing it. Without prayer, you are like a puppet in the hands of forces you cannot see. But with prayer, you have the power to cut those strings. Imagine a pot of hot soup, steaming and too hot for any fly to touch. That is the life of a person who is filled with prayer, untouchable by the enemy. The moment you let your spiritual fire cool, you become vulnerable. And the flies, those evil forces, gather around. Jesus himself was the perfect example of a life immersed in prayer. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed with such intensity that his sweat like drops of blood falling to the ground. Luke 22:44. He knew what was ahead: the betrayal, the pain, the cross. But before he faced any of that in the physical world, he fought in the spiritual. He prayed so fervently that heaven responded, sending an angel to strengthen him. This is the key, my brothers and sisters. Jesus, the Son of God, needed strength from above to face his greatest trial. If he needed it, how much more do we? A life without prayer is like a fortress without walls, open and defenseless, inviting attacks from every side. Remember Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples? Jesus told Peter, "Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat." Luke 22:31. But Jesus also said, "I have prayed for you, that your faith should not fail." Jesus knew the spiritual battle that was coming, and he knew the only way Peter would stand was through prayer. Do you remember Samson? He was a man anointed by God with supernatural strength, but he took that anointing for granted. He neglected his relationship with God, and over time he became spiritually cold. He trusted in his own strength rather than depending on God through prayer. And one day, he woke up with his head shaved and his strength gone. The enemy captured him, blinded him, and made him a prisoner. Judges 16:20-21. Samson's story is a warning for all of us. Without continual dependence on God through prayer, we become easy prey for the enemy. A man who does not pray is like Samson after his hair was cut, defeated, powerless, and enslaved by the enemy. Look at Hannah. She was barren, ridiculed by those around her, including her husband's other wife. But Hannah didn't give up. She went to the temple and poured her soul out before the Lord in prayer. 1 Samuel 1:10-11. She prayed so intensely that Eli the priest thought she was drunk. God heard her cry and she gave birth to Samuel. And what about Elijah? One man against 450 prophets of Baal. Elijah knew that the battle wasn't just a physical showdown, it was a battle of gods. He prayed, and fire fell from heaven, consuming the sacrifice, the altar, and even the water around it. 1 Kings 18:36-38. That day, the people fell on their faces and declared, "The Lord, He is God." Brothers and sisters, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. James 5:16. If God could shut the mouths of lions for Daniel, If he could send fire from heaven for Elijah, what can he not do for you? The only question is, will you pray? For men ought always to pray and not to faint. This is not a gentle suggestion. It is the difference between life and death. It is the difference between standing strong or falling to pieces in the face of adversity. Pray when you are strong and pray when you are weak. Pray when you're happy and when you're sad. Prayer is your weapon. Prayer is your defense. Without it, you are a target. Easy prey for the prowling enemy. So rise up. Pray without ceasing. Keep the fire burning and let no fly land on your life.